Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall. I thought the nursery seemed like the most appropriate place to shoot the video for this week's lesson as we talk about Rachel and Leah and Jacob. Well, I started off this message by talking about my niece's graduation and my dad's last 3 wives all being at the same place at the same time. I suggested that all of us have certain people that we prefer not meet, especially if we were there to connect the dots. Who for you would that be? I think that's a fun icebreaker for you just to share. Who would be the folks that you wouldn't really like to meet? Might be ex-spouses, ex-girlfriends, bosses, co-workers. Just share a little bit. Then let's talk about this. We sort of have a new character in this story, Uncle Layman. We've heard his name before, but his role and really his personality come to play in these passages. So I wonder, what do you think of Uncle Laban? How similar is he to Jacob? Do you see him as a villain or do you see him as a protagonist? And then you being personal, sharing again, do any of you have a family member that you are more like than your folks? Jacob seems to be a lot like Laban in this deception stuff. I wonder if you have an immediate family member that you share a lot of common traits with that are not your mom and dad. And sometimes you might say, well, we wonder if actually he's Uncle so-and-so's kid. The next part of this story is a blended family element. I come from a blended family. I expect that many of you have blended families too. We have brothers and half-brothers and at least one half-sister. Those of you with a blended family, what are some of the challenges that these arrangements have created for Jacob? What are the challenges they've created for Rachel? What are the challenges that they have created for Leah? What are the challenges of a blended family for the children? Talk about that and share some of your own stories too. Then finally, the teeth in this story is when we follow the heart and the mind of Rachel. She is the prettiest. She is adored by her husband. She eventually will have Jacob's 2 favorite sons, Joseph and Benjamin. Yet, she is discontent. In Jewish history, she's the illustration of discontentment. Like we might talk about the demonstration of betrayal in our nation's history as Benedict Arnold. In Jewish history, she's the metaphor for discontentment. If Rachel was your friend, what advice or what counsel would you give her about her discontentment? Well, every week I challenge you to talk about the things that you like, and I challenge you to talk about the things that you don't like. What do you like in this story? I kind of like that Jacob meets his match when he meets Uncle Laban. It's like the young deceiver meets the veteran deceiver. I like that. What do you not like? Well, I don't like Jacob and Rachel and Leah's wedding night. I don't even know how to say that. Is it Jacob and Leah's wedding night? It's supposed to be Jacob and Rachel's wedding night, but it turns out it's Jacob and Leah's wedding night. I don't like that. I don't like it for Jacob. I don't like it for Leah. I don't like it for Rachel. I just don't like it at all. And then every week I want you to be reminded of commitments that we made at the weekend message. And so this last week we focused on, first of all, we had 2 different ways that our application went. First of all, we focused on Rachel and her discontentment. And I asked you to think about, what are you focused on? What are you feeding in your life that is causing discontentment? Rachel was feeding the fact that she wasn't having children. What are you focused on that is feeding your discontentment? And how would you change your focus? And then we also talked about Jacob. And Jacob had this negative personality, this ability to want what wasn't his, this need to cling to what wasn't supposed to be his. And it caused him to be a deceiver. It caused him to be a liar. Well, the Bible says that we reap what we sow. You might say what goes around comes around. And so eventually he runs into Laban and he gets what's coming to him. And so I challenged you to look at your own life and to think about, what are you engaged in right now that is not healthy, that is not building your character? Maybe you would even say that it's sinful. What are you engaged in right now that is going to come back and someday be your worst nightmare, that you will reap what you sow? And maybe this is the time where you change that behavior. For Jacob, it takes almost a lifetime for him to stop being a deceiver. It's a chance for all of us to change our stories. Well, I hope that you have a great group, and I look forward to seeing you this next weekend as we continue our journey through Genesis. God bless.